In this video, get the latest updates on the Batumi Tower. Find out which hotel brand it will be, which remaining units are still available, and how you can benefit from this hotel investment. So, enjoy this video. Hello and welcome. My name is Florian Wilk. I am the managing director of CMC in Cyprus, but also, among other places, in Tbilisi, Georgia. And in Georgia, of course, there is also the very well-known and popular coastal city of Batumi. I've already introduced you to the Batumi Tower there. This very special building, this construction project, Batumi. Batumi's being talked about as the next Dubai in a way. That might be a bit of an exaggeration. But the fact is, the EMA Group, which is a very, very large, has invested in the United Arab Emirates a total of $10 billion in Georgia. And most of that, actually, I think 8 or 9, I'm not even sure, in Batumi and the Batumi region. When the largest group in the United Arab Emirates says we're putting $10 billion on the table and investing it in Georgia, and especially in the Batumi region, that really means something. But now I want to give you an update. There are actually some very, very positive developments with this project. This is about a hotel investment, meaning you can purchase one or more apartments in this tower, which has a total of 42 floors. And we're talking about the absolute prime location in Batumi Han. Sea views from two sides, basically right on the most beautiful corner with two waterfronts in the old town. So from my point of view, it's the absolute top location. I honestly can't imagine how you could top that. It's not 100% official yet, but I think it's fair to say it already. Now, it looks like the prestigious Sofitel group, meaning the major corporate group behind it, that the hotel will officially carry and represent the distinguished Sofitel brand name for the foreseeable future. And if you happen to know quite a bit about the various different international hotel groups and their luxury brands, then you likely already know that Sofitel is actually positioned in the absolute top tier 5-star luxury segment of the market. That essentially means we've had to undertake the extensive process of completely reevaluating and redoing all of our previously established financial yield calculations. This is because, in fact, we had initially operated under the strategic assumption that it would be positioned in a premium category, very similar to the Radisson Blu in terms of its average nightly room rates and overall pricing structure. With Sofitel, with this brand, however, we are expecting higher room rates, which actually means very, very positive news. The yield will actually increase a little bit more because through this, given the exceptional quality and the prestigious Sofitel brand itself, it is expected that the room rates will be pushed up even further. And that also clearly shows the strategic positioning, because in the city of Batumi, you currently have a lot of, without wanting to judge anyone, but let's say very simple properties that are readily available on the market for relatively little money. This contrast highlights the premium nature of the development compared to the existing budget-friendly options. Offering something to investors or vacationers with a small budget. There, everything is driven by price. That is generally not interesting for the European, American, or even Middle Eastern market, even as vacation properties. Then we have quite a bit in the mid-range segment. For example, there are some casino hotels that also have corresponding floors and amenities. There, you're often in the price range of $100, $120 a night, sometimes even $150. But that's more the mid-range segment, so around 4 to 4.5 stars. And I would say if you go by booking.com ratings, from my perspective, it's around 8 to 8.5, maybe even 8.8. So something that's quite nice, but certainly not high level. And then we have just a very, very few projects in Batumi that really operate in the high level segment. Of course, that's where the margins are highest, the supply is smallest, but demand is actually rising even in destinations like Batumi for luxurious holiday accommodations and hotel stays. You can always see this quite well with the Radisson Blu Hotel. It's practically right across the street. You can hardly ever find a whole week available in a route. Yes, of course, maybe in winter. But basically, I've actually done this and taken the trouble to test it for various dates. It's really, really difficult to book a longer period there at all, simply because the demand is extremely high. And that's a 14-year-old building, which is still very well maintained and in great condition. But we're talking about a 14-year-old hotel. Of course, the brand and the standard. And that's exactly the formula we have with this Batumi Tower. Then there's another update. I promised you updates with this video. To be more specific, it is that the major construction and development work has now officially and formally commenced. The initial phase of excavation work has now finally begun. The first, pillars are going into the ground, so now they're pouring concrete there to prepare everything. These are very complex and very elaborate, expensive earthworks taking place there. And now everything is in full swing. You are always very welcome to. Of course, to come and take a look at the construction site and also the showroom. There is now a showroom in Batumi right next to the construction site, as well as an office with a 3D model, so you are very welcome to check it out in person. Feel free to get in touch with me and we can gladly arrange an appointment on site in Batumi. So that's also a very positive development, which of course builds trust among investors because you can see, hey, things are moving forward. And we have now successfully and completely moved past the pre-launch phase. The processes have settled in. Pre-launch is always a bit, I don't want to say chaotic, but it's always a dynamic time when things just need to fall into place, etc. The developer has now moved past that. Things have now settled in. But the pre-launch prices are no longer available, except for a few remaining units we still have. That means these are units that we have already pre-reserved for a fee. We were able to extend the reservation for a little while longer. That means you benefit from having locked in the old prices, the pre-launch prices, so to speak, and you can reserve and buy at these preferential rates and save money. This way you save several percent. You know how it is. It's no different in Batumi than it is in the back. With every construction phase, prices go up. And of course, that's no different here at the Batumi Tower. And that's why it's especially interesting to take over such pre-reserved units. So on the contrary, you don't pay more than the regular price, but actually less. You even save money compared to the current prices. And that's also very important. Many of the middle floors are already gone, and more floors are gradually being released onto the market. And for example, I was offered an apartment on the 27th floor, or was it the 29th? But let's just say definitely at the end of the 20s, for $4,900 per square liter. Now, with our units that we pre-reserved, we're on the 14th and 15th floor, so it meant lower. But the view is still fantastic. So starting from the 10th floor, the view from the 9th floor onward, the view is actually really great from the 9th floor on. But we're talking about prices from $3,900 to $4,000. That's a big difference. And from an investment perspective, it obviously makes much more sense if you take a unit on the 14th. For instance, you might consider a unit on a lower floor, for example, priced at approximately $3,900 or even $4,000, rather than choosing a similar unit located way up on the 27th or the 29th floor, which would cost you about $4,900 per month. A small premium, if any, for higher floors. But your purchase price is significantly higher. That's why it makes so much sense to go for the middle floors, because there you always get a very, very fair purchase price. And if you look internationally, I'm currently in Kuala Lumpur, as you might be able to tell from the Petronas Towers in the background. Apartment prices, price per square meter, and prime locations. I'm always talking about prime locations. How this develops, especially when we look at the pre-launch prices. Of course, no one knows them later on, but if you take a look and really look back, which we can do here, And if we then look at the final prices at handover or even in resale, that is, when selling on, there are very, very healthy margins. Possible. So, long story short, there are some very, very positive updates. And if you're interested in this project and just want to take a look at the Batumi Tower, feel free to book a call. You can also reach me via WhatsApp, Telegram, or Signal. The contact details are below the video. And then we can calmly go through your questions. Discuss everything in peace. It starts at around 115,000 US dollars investment with a very, very fair payment plan. You pay 20% upfront and the rest interest free over 48 months. I think that's very, very fair. We haven't completely finished the current calculations yet, but according to the old calculation, it's 10 to 12% per annum for retirement for you as an investor. And I think that's already quite solid and definitely attractive. And we're talking about a market with 5 to 6% economic growth per year. So things are developing here. So you have to. Something really has to happen for you not to. Further price increases, both in real estate and in accommodation prices, if we don't see that in Batumi in the coming years. A great alternative outside the EO. A stable concrete gold investment in an absolute top location. Yeah, so that's it for now. Thank you very much. All the best. Feel free to give me a like, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel for regular updates. See you next time. Yours, Florian Wilk.